Wonderful to meet you. Thank you so much for taking a minute out today.
I'm happy to be here.
So let's begin our journey into your good work by asking this. 5 years ago, the pandemic rearranged all of our lives, the whole world. How did you get through that pandemic of 2020, and how has it affected the way that you approach writing and life today?
Oh, that's such a wonderful question. Well, I think we were all shocked. It didn't change my lifestyle to a large degree, except for not being able to go out and have fun when I wanted, because I was teaching college classes online. So I spent a lot of time at home anyway, and then writing. I usually get up in the morning and write before I do anything else. So as far as my lifestyle and my livelihood, it did not have a huge impact on me. In fact, because so many people were taking college classes online, I ended up probably with more work than I ever had before, which I enjoyed. But the fear factor, the whole in living in Southwest Florida, we have, hurricanes that living in, just survival mode thing that we all felt, I think had a really deep impact on all of us and how we approach life, how we approach arts, how we express ourselves. So, like I think everyone else, it had a really deep impact on my writing and what I wanted to accomplish with my writing. And I think values and goals shift when you go through something like that. And mine did. I felt like instead of just writing and making sure doing all I could to get people to buy my books, I wanted to really work with my purpose for writing. I needed a mission. I needed to feel like I was doing something to make the world a better place. And so I don't think that the pandemic really changed my goals a lot, but it helped me get perspective on them and deepen my conviction.
So let me ask you this. If I was to put you in front of a bunch of 12-year-olds at career day and they wanted to know what you do on a daily basis for your profession, how do you answer that child?
I do, I do too many things. When you grow up, do not be as stressful and tense as I am. Really, I've learned I'm happier when I have a lot to do than if I don't have enough. But I teach college classes and I love it. I'm teaching for three different colleges, and I've been doing it long enough that I'm teaching the classes I really love. Classes in world religions. I teach classes in world culture. I teach classes. I got to teach some graduate classes in women in the world's religion, which is really dear to my heart. But before I do any of that, I get up in the morning, I make my coffee, and I sit down and I write. Before I check my email, before I look at my phone, while everybody else is asleep, I get up early, and just before all that other information bombards me, I start writing. So I am predominantly a writer. I'm a writer. I'm a professor. I'm a lover of learning. I'm a lover of books. I'm a lover of culture and a lover of life. And I really enjoy history. And I feel like if we all look into it in a new way, we can find out new things about ourselves.
I totally agree. So how did you get this zeal and zest to write and teach? But before we do that, I want to know this. When you were 12 years old, what was your
Mhm.
ultimate dream gig?
Oh, this is so funny, but growing up, I always knew I'd write. I knew I wouldn't do it till I was older. I could see myself being an old lady like I am now writing. I had no interest in it then, but I knew I'd do it when I got older. So, like most young people, toyed with the idea of being a professional singer or an actress or all these glamorous things. But I always knew I'd write, but later in life, and that's what I did.
So take me back to where you were born and raised. What were these foundational elements that gave you this zest for life? The words, teaching, how did all of these seeds get sown and evolve into who you are today?
Oh, thanks for asking that question. I was born in Austin, Texas, to a large Catholic family, but my father was an art director for a television station and a genius. I mean, people that knew him and worked with him, he designed logos for different television stations all over the country. I really admired him and his work and his art. He was real foundational in my love of the arts. My mother was kind of, quiet and unassuming, but she was a very talented musician. She had a hard life. She never finished high school. I don't think she went past ninth grade. Very wise, very intelligent woman who loved books. And I think I just got sort of a different appreciation from the arts from her. And I liked intellectual challenges. When I was very young, they, put me in things in school where, they were showing off how well the class was doing. I was just always kind of a nerd, I'll put it that way. But I loved books growing up. I loved the arts. And I just loved life so much. So that was my foundation in my youth. As I got older and had children and, marriages that didn't work out so well and went through my tough times, I ended up going back to school in my mid 40s. I did my undergraduate work in what I was really interested at the time, which was religious studies and English writing. I knew I wanted to write. I was getting ready to do that. I love religion more for the anthropological aspect, than actually like it's never been my position to want to tell anybody to be any kind of religion or anything, but I like just how religion affects people and culture and how it makes us do what we do. So I went back and did a double major in that in my mid 40s, as I said, single mother, two sons, ended up graduating valedictorian. My ex-alcoholic husband had me convinced I was stupid, so that was a thrill. But anyway, after I did that, I thought, oh, if I lose momentum, I won't, I'll stop. So I got a chance to go to University of Notre Dame on a full scholarship. I studied theological studies for 2 years, a master's degree in that, graduated with honors. And then I kind of cruised for a while, and my older son was going through college. He went to the University of Texas, and I drove my younger son up to Dallas and dropped him off at MSU and went home and looked around and I thought, oh, I need something to do. So I got on the phone and before long I was enrolled in a doctorate program in San Francisco in women's spirituality, which was a total other end of the spectrum from what I learned about systematic theology at the University of Notre Dame. But both of them were important, for me to get sort of a full picture of religion and people and how it affects people. So that was a grand tour.
That no, you did. That was great. That was a great tour of the museum. So let me ask you this. What was the book early on that hooked you into reading or has kind of reverberated as one of the seminal uh books or writings that's inspired you to either read more or want to write?
Oh, from a very young age, the very first book I remember just devouring and loving was historical fiction. And it was a book called Desiree, and I feel really bad because I can't remember the author, but it was about the woman that Napoleon had an affair with before he got rid of her, he dumped her and married Josephine. So, I mean, I really, the first book that I really gravitated towards was about a woman who wasn't in the spotlight, but we went back and we took another look at her story and history, and that's what I ended up doing without really planning it. But that was the first book that really I just loved and devoured. The next book that I remember really had a profound effect on me was Dear and Glorious Physician by Taylor Caldwell, who also did that. She went back and wrote historical fiction and repainted pictures. That was about St. Luke, in the Gospels, and she brought him to life, in a way that I thought was fascinating. So the books that were really pivotal for me were historical fiction books that went back and, people we've heard of, or even people who were associated with somebody we've heard of, but we didn't really know their story. That was fascinating to me.
Yeah.
And so that's what I write today. I write books about women in the story of the history of religions and spiritual traditions who I think did really pivotal things and did not get the credit they deserved.
So Desiree was written by Anna Marie Selenko, I believe.
Oh, thank you for looking that up. It's a
Yeah.
wonderful book. I
Uh,
read it. I think I was like 10 or 12 when I read it. It was fabulous. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I figured people out there would love to reference it so they could get it.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, it's a good book.
so the thing that gets me about just our evolution as human beings is how in the world can this country not elect a woman to be president? We enabled women to take care of all of the kids and all of the things that we would consider not only domestic but essential to human beings waking up and getting through their day, but we can't put them in a position uh, of political power. I just it astounds me.
I totally agree. And I think it has to do with cultural mindset,
Yeah.
for sure. But no, that's kind of what I looked at in my books is that in history, Phyllis Treble is this, she's a theologian who wrote this fabulous essay called Eve and Adam, Genesis Reread. And she talks about how, Eve really got framed in the Garden of Eden, but she did everything. She went, she took the apple, she tried it, she talked to the serpent, fruit, it doesn't actually say apple, but she took it to Adam. She said, eat this. He argued with her, but he did. And she says, okay, look, she's a creative thinker. She's the mover and the shaker. He's just doing what she tells him to do. And it tickled me. But as I was teaching, Christian theology and Christian history and then world history and world religion, and I was seeing this a lot, that women were actually initiating things that men kind of got credit for. So if we go back and look, women really kicked things off, but never really got credit for it historically and culturally. So I think it just has to do with mindset. I think it has to do with the right woman, running for president that, uh, different camps as we see can get behind. But I think it will happen soon. And I think it'll be really interesting to see how it affects not only the United States culture, but international relations and just the world in general. I think it'll happen. I'm very optimistic.
I mean, but the thing I think about is having the right candidate. I think Hillary and Kamala embodied so many wonderful qualities. They were people that I believe could have actually done way better than the people and the person that they ran against. And
I have to agree with you.
I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, these other people that they ran against, they were not even ideal. I
Mhm.
mean, it's anyway, I don't want to go into a rabbit hole, but that's the
Yeah.
thing that, and then even women's rights and just all of the things, like I don't understand the backlash, but the thing that astonishes me more is that women determine the outcome of elections and how they haven't come out in
Hmm.
groves to support somebody that's a woman to get it. It's weird. And I know it's cultural and I know there's a lot that goes into it, but it's just still something that,
No, and I'm trying not to jump off that diving board because I'm with you. I don't get it.
yeah,
I just, I know very intelligent women who vote against women, and I don't get it.
yeah.
I do not have the answer for you on that.
Yeah, we had dialogue, and that's what I was looking for. So let me ask you this: who has been that inspirational force? Who's been that hero in your life that's allowed you to become who you are, to find your voice, to find your profession, and evolve into who you are today?
I think probably my mother was always there for me. She was kind of quiet. She passed away a few years ago at almost 99 years old, but I mean, till the end, she was very wise and very, very supportive. So she was my number one fan. I think the people who helped me, it was really a turning point in my life when I was doing my undergraduate work. And again, I went in thinking I was so stupid. And I had two or three professors who looked into me and saw what I was capable of it when I couldn't, and brought that out and really supported me. And when I learned that I could do things and I wasn't stupid, I really did fly. That was a real turning point for me. So that's one thing I would have to look back at and say, there was one male professor, Tim Green, and who they deserve to be mentioned, and a female professor, Paula Marks, who really saw what I was capable of and helped me see it and helped me to do it. That was huge.
So if you could meet one powerful woman in the history of our collective history, and you could spend time with them and understand how they work, whether they're alive or they're a ghost, who would you love to have met and talked to?
Oh, that's so fun. I haven't even thought about that, and I should, but I think, I've never been super politically minded, but Eleanor Roosevelt, I'm finding, did a lot more behind the scenes than we gave her credit for at that critical time in history. It would be wonderful to be able to sit down and talk with her. I'm trying to think who else. Um, I'm beginning to research a book on Nefertiti, Akhenaten's wife, the beautiful one that you always see the bust of, the Egyptian queen. And
Yeah.
yeah, she had a really interesting life that we're just beginning to find out wasn't exactly what we all always thought it was. And oh man, would I love to be able to sit down right now and have a chat with her.
Eleanor was wonderful. I remember walking in
Mhm.
DC. I can't remember where I was at, but there was a exhibit outside, and I walked through, and it had all of these placards and facts about her. And I was like, how did I
Mhm.
not know this? Like,
Yeah.
but again, it's one of those things with gender and cultural appropriation that just gets kind of flown
Yeah.
over, you
The
know?
Declaration of Human Rights was her brainchild.
Yeah.
That was her idea.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I know. It's wild.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah, she is. So let me ask you this. What is the motivation for you every day to wake up, to teach, to write, to change people's lives and to nurture your own soul? What's that collective energy for you every day?
It gives me a sense of purpose. Um, what I learn from people when I'm teaching, you learn best when you teach, not only what you're teaching, but from people. And I've really enjoyed, I teach for three different universities online. I taught in the classroom for many, many years, but now it's with my lifestyle, it's easier. But um, the online forum, you're interacting with people all over the world all at once. So I get to get up in the morning, make a cup of coffee, and philosophize with people everywhere. And especially teaching classes like, world religions and world cultures. It's such a rich, fun experience. But I think we all secretly really want to find ways to immortalize ourselves. So through my writing and through my teaching, that kind of helps me feel like I'm taking what's important to me and enriching other people's lives with it. And hopefully it's a gift that will keep on giving.
Yeah.
But writing too, I feel a real sense of mission about what I write. And that sense of mission, I think, is what really drives me to keep doing it.
So if you had a dream tonight, ran into the 18-year-old version of you, ready to charge out, change the
Hmm.
world, and you could give that version of you a piece of advice based on this life you've lived, the wisdom you've accumulated over the years, what advice would you give that young version of you?
A saying that's become dear to me, it sounds awful when you say it out loud, but it really helps me is don't let little people sit on your solar plexus. When people are being small, when people aren't treating you right, don't let them crush you and keep you from going forward and being you.
Yeah.
I've let it happen too many times. I've let it take time away from my writing. I've let it, it's so much easier said than done. When
Right.
somebody hurts you or breaks your heart, you can't always just bounce back and be super. But just being aware of not letting it derail me as much as I did. It probably wouldn't change anything if I did tell my 18-year-old self that. But I'd like to be able to say, be aware of this, and circumvent people who are going to take your energy and not reciprocate in kind.
So let's say you walk into a room of all of the students and colleagues that you've been around teaching throughout all these years, and everybody that's bought your books and knows you as a writer, and you could swim through that group of people in a room. They're all in there, and you go to a podium and you tell them a fun story. Maybe the first concert you ever went to, the best, like, uh, like jumping out of an airplane, outrunning a crocodile, some kind of fun story, a wonderful place you traveled to. What story would you tell that room of people?
Oh gosh, first of all, thank you for that dream, and I would have to go up and say thank you profusely for all the people who supported me throughout my life. But the story I think I would tell about my life, um, and of course I'm drawing just a huge blank here, but I think it would be again, what was pivotal for me is going, starting in midlife as a single mother, destitute, broke, thinking I wasn't any good, going to, do my undergraduate class as an adult and having these people support me and then graduating valedictorian. And I mean that year it was not just with, it was of the whole school and realizing, hey, I'm really pretty smart. That was just the most amazing, wonderful thing that could have happened to me. And it opened doors. And it's just, it's another thing, again, I would like to go back and tell my 18-year-old self is don't let little people let you think you're not everything you are, just hold yourself up through all of it. So, and then there are a couple alligator stories too from the pond in my backyard that are kind of fun to share. I have alligators sunning themselves in my backyard sometimes, which is a trip, but
Yeah.
I never had to outrun one.
I tell you what, when I was 12, friends of our family took us down to Orlando to Disney World when it was a whole
Mhm.
different world back in '85.
Oh yeah.
And I remember seeing an alligator from the top of the hotel down in a pond, and I was
Hmm.
just absolutely mystified from Kansas City,
Yeah.
thinking that the dinosaurs were alive. I had entered Jurassic Park. It was just a very surreal, interesting thing to see it. But it was always floating
Mhm.
down there, and
Yeah.
I stayed away.
Oh yeah. Oh no, but they are amazing to see. I mean,
Yeah,
really, the first time one swam through my pond, which is like 20 feet from my back window, I was horrified but thrilled. It's just,
yeah.
it was 3 weeks ago. There was this huge, beautiful, great blue heron out there, and I'm looking, and these beautiful ducks come, this family of ducks waddle up, and I thought, oh, isn't that sweet? And then you see this big triangular shaped eye float by. He pulls himself up on the land right by these birds. And I'm like, oh, birds,
Oh
please stop,
no.
please. And they scoot over a little bit, but they stayed there. And finally, the ducks waddled off. And I had to leave and go somewhere. And I was praying for that blue heron. And I got back, and the alligator was gone, and that blue heron was just there enjoying the morning sun. So it's always a show.
So yeah, you're out watching like a romantic comedy, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh no, it's going to be a horror show. It's going to be a Friday the 13th bloodbath.
It's
Yeah,
just, it's a trip. I love
yeah.
it. Somebody filmed a picture. I didn't get to see it, but of a little black bear scampering across the wall around my community. And it's just, South Florida's just a trip. I love it.
The,
Some people really don't, but I do. So,
well, I guess there's a trick that if you put your birthday in just the month and day and put Florida, you will get the craziest headlines you've ever read in your entire life.
I'm sure that's true. I'm
I did
sure.
it. Somebody at a bar one time was like, put your birthday and just put Florida in there. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like there was stories that were coming up that was like, there's no way,
Oh, I know. Yeah.
so
It's a different world.
it is a different world. It certainly is. So let me ask you this. Of everything that you've done in your life, accomplished and evolved to at this point, what are you ultimately the proudest of?
Well, of course, my sons and my grandchildren and my family, and how could you not be really
Sure.
proud of that? So they're doing well. Both my sons, I'm happy to say, are very successful attorneys and generally good people. So
That's good.
yeah.
So let me ask you this. Everyone has a perception of you. Family, friends, students, colleagues, everyone that gets your books, everyone that knows you, but you run the proverbial show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I am, I like to think of myself as wise and intelligent. I'm loving. I'm caring. I'm creative, very creative. I love the arts. And just hopefully a good old gal that people are comfortable hanging out with.
So, what do you like the best about living in South Florida, and what do you miss about Austin?
Um, I love the beaches here,
Yeah.
just the beautiful beaches, gorgeous beaches very close to me. Again, the wildlife is a trip, but it's really fun. The flora, the palm trees and the tropical flowers, I love that. I really do. Austin is fun though. I mean, it's a really upbeat city. I miss the Austin attitude. It's kind of this little liberal spot in the middle of very conservative Texas. But with the University of Texas and everything there, it's really rich in culture. And a very unique culture. I like that Southwestern Austin culture, and I kind of grew up on like Willie Nelson and Jerry Jeff Walker, and everybody was doing their thing. So I kind of miss that just general Central Texas vibe. The lakes there are beautiful. Of course, I have family and friends there that. But it's a different lifestyle. People say, "Do you like Florida better?" And I can't really say that I do, but I was ready for a change, and it was a good one for me. So
Yeah.
I'll put it that way. Hmm.
So let me ask you this. If you could get into a time machine, we get off this call, you can get into a time machine and go back in history and see one event with your own eyes. It won't create a tear in time. You just get to be a bystander. What event would you love to have seen with your own eyes?
Well, right now, at this point, I really wanted to go back and see what happened to Nefertiti when Akhenaten died, if she became the next pharaoh, or what happened to her. There's talk that she might have actually been Tutankhamun's mother, but I don't think that's been proven. But I'd like to just go back to that moment because a lot of what I'm researching now, I think would be very, very clear, and that would be a fun way to start writing my next book.
Yeah, that would be. So if anyone wants to pick up your books, they want to reach out, they're interested, any of the good business, where do they go?
I'm on Amazon.com. You can get me through Barnes and Noble's bookstore. Several other bookstores have it. Check out my website. It's down right now. They're working on it. So maybe wait a day or two.
Okay.
But I also have a sneak peek of my next novel that's coming out next year available on my website. And I do a video blog that I really enjoy about different women in history and their spiritual significance. But I also focus on I think phenomena that people are interested in. Like the three I'm working on now, I've done two, and I'm going to do the third one this weekend. Is on mysticism, what mysticism really is, what it means to be a mystic, what that life is like, and then the one I'm going to record next is on creative ecstasy. That mystics say they produce these wonderful creative works when they're in the throes of mysticism. So that's going to be a fun one. So do check those out too. They're on YouTube.
Absolutely. I will put links in the show notes. Lori, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for your spirit, your story, and best of luck with everything. I appreciate it.
Thanks. I enjoyed it so much.
Me too. Thank you.